If you've spent any real time growing your own food, you already know this truth. You don't feed your plants, you feed your soil. And if you want soil that's dark, soft, and full of life, there's one creature you need on your side, the earthworm. Worms are basically free labor. They till your soil for you, all day, every day, for free, without being asked. But here's the thing. If you're only tossing in kitchen scraps or a bag of store-bought compost, you're leaving a lot on the table. There's a cheap, everyday food already sitting in your kitchen cupboard that can grow your worm population, make each worm bigger, and turn your soil around faster than almost anything you've tried. And it costs almost nothing. Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you want a better garden without spending a ton of money or wrecking your back, you're in the right place. Today we're talking about something you'd never expect. Plain white rice. And I'm not just going to tell you it works. I'm going to walk you through the actual science of why it works, show you exactly how to use it, and tell you where I messed it up myself so you don't have to. Segment 2. Why you should trust this. Now, some of you are probably thinking, rice? In my garden? Won't that attract bugs or suck the moisture out of my soil? I thought the exact same thing the first time I heard about it. So before I tried it, I actually dug into the science of what worm castings are made of and why worms behave the way they do. Let me break it down for you in plain terms. First, a bit of history, because this isn't some new internet fad. Charles Darwin, yes, the evolution guy, spent the last 40 years of his life studying earthworms. His final book, published in 1881, was called The Formation of Vegetable Mold Through the Action of Worms. It's considered the first serious scientific study of how soil actually forms. Darwin figured out that worms were quietly turning over the entire surface of the earth, one small burrow at a time. If it was important enough for Darwin to spend 4 decades on, it's worth 5 minutes of your time today. Now let's fast forward to modern research. Worm castings are basically worm poop, but don't let that word fool you. Soil scientists sometimes call it black gold for a reason. Researchers who compared worm castings to the plain soil around them found the castings held roughly 5 times more nitrogen, 7 times more phosphorus, and around 11 times more exchangeable magnesium than the surrounding dirt. Some studies looking at farmland even found earthworm activity accounts for the large majority of usable nitrogen sitting in that topsoil. That's not a small bump. That's the difference between soil that struggles and soil that produces. And this isn't just soil talk. It shows up in actual harvests. A 2014 study out of Wageningen University pulled together data from 58 separate research papers going all the way back to 1910 and found that fields with healthy earthworm populations produced 25% more crop yield on average, with 21% more total plant growth. More recently, in 2023, researchers at Colorado State University mapped earthworm populations against global farmland and estimated that earthworms are responsible for roughly 6.5% of the entire world's grain production. That's about 140 million tons of food a year, just from worms doing their job in the dirt. Here's the part that matters for us. Worms don't make castings out of nowhere. The more actively worms are feeding and moving through your soil, the more of this nutrient-rich material they leave behind, right in your root zone. So the real question isn't, is worm poop good for my garden? Science already answered that one a long time ago. The real question is, how do you get more worms doing more work without buying anything expensive? That's where the rice comes in. When I first tried using rice in one of my old, tired-out raised beds, the change didn't take long. In about 3 weeks, the soil went from hard and gray to loose, dark, and full of worms. Doesn't matter if you're brand new to gardening or you've been doing this for 20 years. Once you understand the biology behind this, it changes how you think about feeding your soil. Segment 3. Is your soil actually low on worms? Before you go dig any trenches, let's figure out if you actually have a worm problem. This only takes 2 minutes, and it's worth doing. Grab a shovel and dig out a square foot of soil, about 6 to 12 inches deep. Set it on a tarp or a piece of cardboard and count every worm you find as you break the soil apart with your hands. According to extension guidelines from universities that study this, a healthy garden soil should have at least 10 earthworms per square foot, and many thriving, well-managed gardens support far more than that. If you counted fewer than 10, or if you struggled to find any at all, that's a clear sign your soil needs help. And that's exactly the kind of bed where this rice trick is going to make the biggest difference. If you counted plenty of worms already, don't worry. This method still works. It just means you're starting from a stronger position. Do this test in spring or fall when the soil is a comfortable temperature and slightly moist, not bone dry or frozen. Testing dry soil will always undercount your worms because they burrow deep to find moisture when the topsoil dries out. Segment 4. How it actually works. So how does a plain grain of rice turn into worm rocket fuel? This isn't magic. It's basic soil microbiology, and it all happens underground. Step 1. Raw rice is mostly starch, a simple carbohydrate. Starch happens to be one of the easiest food sources for soil fungi and bacteria to break down. The moment that rice touches damp soil, it becomes a concentrated meal for the microorganisms already living down there, the same decomposer organisms that break down fallen leaves and dead roots. Step 2. Those microbes multiply around the rice, feeding on the starch and building up what scientists call a microbial bloom, a thick, fast-growing colony of fungi and bacteria packed into one small area. Step 3. Here's the part most people don't know, and it's the key to this whole trick. Earthworms aren't actually eating your soil or your dead leaves for the nutrition. Their gut is built to process microorganisms. What they're really after is the biofilm, that coating of fungi, bacteria, and other microbes sitting on the surface of organic material. Step 4. Worms are sensitive to concentrations of microbial activity in the soil around them and move toward it. Because the rice creates such a dense, localized burst of microbial growth, earthworms from deeper soil layers travel up toward your root zone specifically to reach it. Step 5. The worms feed on that microbial colony, and the softened rice digest it quickly thanks to all that starch energy, and leave it behind as castings, right where your plant roots are waiting to soak it up. Now, to be fair with you, using raw starch as a worm attractant isn't something you'll find written up in a university research paper just yet. It's a technique gardeners have tested and passed along because it lines up with how we already know worms and soil microbes behave. Every individual piece of the biology here is well documented. Starch feeding microbes, microbes forming biofilms, worms feeding on biofilms, and worms moving toward food sources. Putting those pieces together is what makes this trick actually work. Segment 5. How to actually do this. Now that you know why it works, let's get into how to use it the right way, so it actually helps instead of making a mess. 1. Dig a trench, not a pile. Don't just sprinkle rice on top of your mulch. Grab a trowel and dig a small trench, 4 to 6 inches deep, next to your plant rows, a few inches away from the stems, not right against them. 2. Go light on the amount. A quarter cup of raw rice is plenty for every 3 feet of garden bed. You want a thin scatter, not a heavy dump. 3. Add a little moisture. Before covering it, mist the rice lightly with water, or a diluted seaweed liquid if you have it. This gets the softening process going so microbes can move in within a day. 4. Bury it and cover it. Fill the trench back in with soil and press it down gently. Add about 2 inches of mulch on top. This hides the smell from mice and birds and keeps moisture locked in for the worms. 5. Match it to your soil type. If you've got heavy clay soil, dig your trench a bit shallower, around 4 inches, since clay holds moisture longer and the rice will break down slower anyway. If you're working with sandy soil that drains fast, go closer to 6 inches deep and check the moisture every few days, since sandy soil dries out much quicker and dry rice just sits there instead of breaking down. 6. Time it with the season. The best windows for this are spring and early fall, when soil temperatures sit between about 50 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the range where earthworms are most active near the surface. In the peak of summer heat, worms retreat deeper to escape the heat, so a trench that's too shallow won't get much traffic. In winter, most worms go dormant, so save this trick for when the ground has warmed back up. Segment 6. Don't overdo it. Here's your warning. Less is more with this trick. A lot of people think, if a little rice helps, a whole bag must be even better. Please don't do that. If you pile on too much rice, it clumps up, blocks air from getting in, and starts fermenting without oxygen. That means it turns sour, starts smelling like vinegar, and actually pushes your worms away. Also, stick to plain, raw, uncooked white rice only. No seasoned rice, no instant rice, and definitely nothing with salt. Salt is rough on a worm's skin and can hurt them. One more thing worth knowing. Earthworms are sensitive to soil pH. Extension research shows that worm populations get stressed when soil pH drops below about 6.0 or climbs above about 7.5. If you've been using a lot of synthetic fertilizer or your soil tests on the acidic or alkaline side, that could be a bigger factor in your low worm count than anything else. And it's worth testing your soil pH before you assume the rice trick alone will fix everything. Treat this as an occasional boost that works alongside healthy soil practices, not a replacement for them. Segment 7. My own mistake. I'll be honest, I learned this one the hard way. A couple summers back, I had a rock-hard patch of dirt near my tomatoes. Nothing grew well there, and when I dug around, I couldn't find a single worm. So out of frustration, I dumped a leftover bowl of cooked, salted rice right on top of the roots. 2 days later, it was a stinky, moldy mess, and every ant in the yard had shown up for the party. I figured the whole idea was nonsense. But instead of quitting, I tried it the right way. Raw rice, buried deep, in a trench near my pepper plants. I left it alone for 2 weeks. When I finally pulled back the mulch and dug in with my trowel, the soil wasn't just better, it was alive. I found 3 of the biggest, healthiest worms I've ever seen in that yard, right in the root zone. That year, I got the best pepper harvest I'd had in 10 years. Segment 8. A few fast bonus tips before we wrap up. Tip 1. Do your rice trenches in the evening. Worms come closer to the surface at night when it's cooler, so the food's ready and waiting for them. Tip 2. Got a compost bin? Bury half a cup of raw rice right in the middle of it to boost your red wiggler numbers fast. Tip 3. Keep the soil above the trench damp at all times. Worms breathe through their skin, so they need moisture to travel toward the food. Tip 4. Recheck your worm count using the same square foot test from earlier, about 4 to 6 weeks after your first trench. That gives you a real before and after number instead of just guessing whether it worked. Segment 9. At the end of the day, a great garden comes down to working smart, not hard, and letting nature do the heavy lifting. Feeding your worms plain white rice is one of the easiest ways to get bigger worms and richer soil. Full stop. If you like learning simple, cheap, well-researched tricks like this one, hit subscribe and stick around. There's a lot more coming. Growing great soil is a long game, and small habits like this one add up over time, just like it did for a guy named Charles Darwin, who spent 40 years watching worms in his backyard and ended up changing how we understand soil forever. Next week, I'll show you 3 kitchen scraps that do the exact same thing for your compost pile, including one you're probably throwing away every single morning without realizing it. See you then.